Hello everybody, welcome to my first video of 2025. Since there's not an awful lot we can do in the garden right now, I thought I would put together a series of videos that takes you step by step how to keep yourself on task when it's developing the landscape on your property. My name is Lynette. We are in Zone 5, upstate New York. Some of you may recognize me. My garden was featured on Dig Plant Water Repeat on summer of 2024. So if you'd like to learn how I developed my property, then follow along on this series of videos. 16 years ago, we put a house in a field, and it was in the wintertime that we did this. And that gave me all winter long to sit down and really figure out and plan, where did I want things? Where did I want the garage? How did I want the driveway to be? What about a back porch? All of these things I had months to sit down and think about. And that's what kept us on task. I had a plan. For the record, I'm no professional. I am self-taught, and I have made some mistakes. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with what I've created. My planning has really paid off. I have a garden that is interesting to be in all season long. In this series of videos, I'd like to keep it around 15 minutes, just something short and sweet where I can share my thoughts on certain things, like how to create 4 seasons of interest, maintenance issues, what tools do you need, things you might not consider, putting the perfect plant in the perfect spot. We'll talk about pollinators, we'll talk about natives versus non-natives and invasive species. We can discuss hardiness zones. I can show you how to do diagrams so you can space out plants and create that 4 season of interest. And of course, we'll talk about resources as well, because they're very, very important. So I hope you'll join me in this series. And for right now, I hope you won't mind if we go inside where it's a little bit warmer, because right now it's about 8 degrees out here, and I'm afraid my camera is going to freeze up. So come on, let's go inside. When you are developing the plan for your property, I want you to think long term, not just what's going to happen in the next 6 months. I want you to look out and plan ahead. I want you to think big. Pretend you won the lottery. What can you do on your property? By planning ahead and doing the dream, that's going to keep you on track. It's going to prevent you from doing things that are not in the plan, and thus you're not going to be wasting money, and you're not going to end up with the result that I call as plunkitis. And plunkitis is when you find something on sale and you don't know what you're going to do. Oh, we'll just plunk it here and we'll plunk it there. And that's what causes your landscape or your design to be disjointed. But if you have a plan and you stick to it, you can move forward. Now, I'm not saying your plan can't waver and sway a little bit here and there, but if you stick with your plan and your design, it's going to keep you on track, and you're not going to be wasting money, and you're going to find you will do things in an order that will work for the overall plan of your garden. Doesn't matter whether you start with a raw piece of property like we did here, or you are in a piece of property that has an existing landscape or might have some mature plantings on it. We all start with a site evaluation. The site evaluation starts with things like sun versus shade, because obviously there are some plants that like sun and some that like shade. Where are you going to put those on your property? This time of year, when you've got snow, it's pretty hard, or there's no leaves on the trees. Everything looks like it's in the sun, unless you're in a snowstorm, and then you can't see anything. But anyway, this time of year, everything looks sunny. So it's really hard to determine where the sunny and shady spots are on your property. And I'm here to tell you, it is okay to take time and evaluate over a year. In fact, I'm going to highly recommend that if you're just moving into a property, sit back and monitor it for a year. Take notes. Keep your site evaluation in line. Take notes of where the sun is, where the wet spots are in your yard. All these things, make notes, and that's going to save you in the long run. Just like sun and shade, you want to know your soil type. Different spots in your yard can have different types of soil. Plants like different types of soils. Some like it in wet soil, some like it in dry. There's also pH to consider. There are some plants that will just thrive in an acidic soil, and there are some that will just die. No matter what you do, they're just going to up and die. So knowing your soil type and pH is going to be important. And it can vary from 10 feet away to someplace else. It's amazing how soil does that. You want to take into consideration where your utilities are. If you have a septic tank, you don't want to plant on top of it because sooner or later you're going to have to pump it out, and you don't want to have your beautiful garden on top of that. You want to know where the water comes into your property, and if you need to run extra water lines someplace to where you're going to put your garden, because you want to be able to put your garden someplace where you can water it, because water is very important to a garden, obviously. I want you to plan for future buildings. Are you going to put up a garage? Are you going to put up a shed? Are you expanding things? Are you putting up a pool? If you're going to put a pool in, for goodness sake, don't put your garden in and fence it all in and then go, oh, I think I want a pool in the middle of the yard. Then you got to rip out the garden and the fence. Plan, 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 plan. You're going to want to take a look at the current plants that are in your property. You may have some real gems. Might not be where you want them. Maybe you can transplant them if they are shrubs or things like hostas and perennials. So you may be able to transplant. Look at restrictions on your property. If you are in an HOA, you may have restrictions on things that you can grow or what the front of your yard looks like. You might not be able to put up a flagpole, for example. So look at your restrictions. Other things you might find, even if you're not in an HOA, is where you can put up a fence. Some people can put it right on the property line. Some people have to be off those 6 feet off a property line. The height of your fence can make a difference. What type of fence? Maybe you can put a chain link, maybe you can't. So look at your building restrictions as well. A big thing is maintenance. You need to be realistic on how much time you want to spend in your garden. If you're new to gardening, fantastic. We don't want to discourage you, but I want you to start small. Dream big, but start small. And if you want a low maintenance garden, that's fine too. But we're just going to work you step by step through that so that you're not making mistakes and putting big things where you're going to have to trim them or cut them down in 3 or 5 years because they've outgrown their space. Are you a do-it-yourselfer? We here did a lot of work ourselves. We know our capabilities. Do we do things perfectly? No, we do them to what we can do. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, fantastic. That's going to help you so you can kind of gauge what you can do yourself. If you've got the money to pay somebody else to do it, to put that stamped concrete patio in, more power to you. But you're going to plan for it. I realize I just gave you a whole bunch of information that you may or may not need for your particular situation. But these are the things that I considered when I was putting together my landscape. Remember, you can put a garden anywhere. Every garden is unique, and we need to make it so that it works for our needs, not the needs of anybody else. If you like this video, please like and subscribe and follow along as I continue to outline the steps that I take to create the garden of my dreams. Take care. Bye-bye.